Guys, this year is going to be a very interesting year, right? Right now, everyone is talking about AI agent, especially with Claude Opus 4.6. Anthropic quietly shipped something different. I mean, real agent teams that actually run in your terminal. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to install Claude Code, enable agent teams, and also run a planner, a worker, and a critique, not simulated, in real life. And we are going to use a very practical use case. And I picked this use case because I'm on YouTube and I feel like a lot of people benefit from this, right? So we're going to be building a full YouTube content plan end to end using agents that plan, execute, and critique together. Let's get started. So like I mentioned, the use case in here is basically having a team of agents. So just think of it like if you have a YouTube channel or you're working on any project, you'd have a team, right? Maybe someone in your team would be responsible for like planning out the content. Someone in your team will be responsible for executing the content. Someone in your team will be responsible for supervising everything, providing feedback. This is exactly what we are going to replicate here. But instead of having human beings do this, you can use agent teams inside Claude Code to do this. So let me show you exactly how it works. Now, first things first, you need to have a terminal open on your computer. So Windows, you could have your terminal, Mac would have a terminal. So we are going to do everything in the terminal. The other thing you should note as well is in order to have access to agent teams, you need to be on the paid version of Claude. So this won't work on the free version. So if you want to benefit from this feature, you need to get a paid version. So now that I've said all that, let's get right into it. Before I start installing anything, I want to talk a bit about what Claude Code is, right? I think it's important for you to understand what it is before we dig into it. So Claude Code is not just the Claude Chat app. It's not a browser experience. And I know that if you were writing code, you could use actually Claude Code in the web version as well. But what I'm focusing on is the command line tool that runs inside your terminal. And it can reason over files, it can run commands, and it can also coordinate multiple agents at the same time. So that whole orchestration is what we are going to be looking at today. Now, the key idea I want you to understand before we move on is Claude Code is anchored to the folder you launch it in. That folder would become Claude's entire world. This design is quite intentional because it's what makes Claude Code feel safer and more predictable than browser-based agents. I'm sure you've heard a lot about AI agents on desktops going rogue and all that. If you're not careful, they can delete stuff. But the good thing is that with Claude Code, we are just going to contain it in a folder, and you see how I do that. Okay, so let's get started. I know I've been talking for so long, but let's get started this time around for real. All right, so let's start first with a clean machine. Just for this tutorial, I made sure I uninstalled Claude Code from my machine so that I can start from fresh. So let's first start by installing Claude Code on our machine. So I'm going to use this exact command, and this command would basically help us with like installing Claude Code on the machine. One thing I want you to note is that this command would basically download and install the Claude Code command line interface. On Mac OS, like this is going to install into a folder called .local/bin, which is really not part of the system path by default, right? So once we are done installing this, we'd have to make sure that we are moving it to the system path. We can see that the installation is complete. It didn't get installed on the system path by default. So what we want to do is we basically want to move it to the system path so that if I run a command regarding Claude anywhere on my machine, I want my machine to be able to see that, right? So I want to put it as part of the system path, right? So this path you see here is simply a list of folders your terminal checks when you type a command in your terminal. Not necessarily regarding Claude Code, but any command at all, right? So by adding the .local.bin to this path, which is really where Claude Code was installed, we are telling Mac OS that this is a valid place for executable tools. So just note that this step does not give Claude access to anything. It just makes Claude command visible, right? So that if I come in here and I type Claude, for instance, my machine will be able to realize that, okay, now Claude is installed on this machine, and so it should work. So you can see that this command work is telling me that this is the version of Claude Code on my machine. If you run a command this and it doesn't work, then most likely is because it's like a path issue, not a Claude Code issue. The next thing is I want to launch Claude Code. Because I've already launched Claude Code in the past, I've already done that. Even though I deleted it on my computer and everything, that form of like communication has already happened. But really when you type in Claude, what it will do is like it will give you a link which you can open in your browser, and that step will link your command line interface to your Claude account. But again, it does not give Claude access to your files or terminal yet. Even after authentication, Claude still can't do anything unless I explicitly allow it. So even though I've authenticated it and everything, you see that it's asking me like Claude Code would be able to read, edit, and execute files here. So it's asking me, yes, I trust this folder. So now I'm going to give it access to like the folders on my computer. Now, I want you to also note that agent teams are an experimental feature, and this means that they are not enabled by default, right? So if you don't do this exact step I'm coming to give you right now, Claude Code literally doesn't know agent teams exist, right? So right now, we are just going to open like a new config, right? So this is the command. I'm trying to just create this file called settings.json. And it's going to tell me that it's been created. So once it creates the settings.json file, you basically want to paste this content, right, into the file. Pasting this content into the file. So basically, you just, for some reason, I deleted Claude Code, but I still have some of these files. Maybe I didn't like wipe it off entirely from my machine, and that's fine. If you don't have the settings.json file on your machine already, what would happen is that it's going to ask you to put in something, right? So let's say, would you make changes to this file? So let's assume like I'm just going to copy this command in here, even though I already have it, so that you sort of understand what I'm trying to do, right? So I'm just going to update it to this one. And since I already have it, it says that the file already contains exactly that content, so no changes needed. So yeah, so I don't really need this again. Now, let me explain what I did here, right? This flag that I've set here, right? It's not creating the agents yet, but it's simply telling Claude Code that it's allowed to spawn multiple cooperating agents if asked, right? So now this is fine. So I'm not going to do anything here. I'm just going to exit the file. All right. So now that I have this done, I'm just going to first close this terminal, and then I'm going to just restart it again. And the reason why I'm doing this is that the way environment variables work is that they're only read when the terminal restarts, right? So if you don't restart the terminal, this flag will not apply properly. And I know that I've already sort of like applied it in the past, but then yeah. But ideally, like for best practice, once you set environment variables up, you just want to make sure that you're closing it and then reopening it again. So this is great. All right. So now let's come back in here and let's start by creating a folder on our computer where we want our projects to live. So I'm going to create a folder. Let me go into my computer, like specific place where I would like this folder created. Okay, so I'm going to come into my computer now and I want to basically create a folder, right? So I'm going to create a folder called agent demo, right? And then I'm going to cd into this folder because this is basically where I want my project to be, right? So this folder we've created here will now become like Claude's entire universe. Claude cannot see anything outside this directory because that's where you're going to be running everything from. And it can't read your desktop, your documents, or your system file, right? This sandboxing is why Claude Code feels safer than browser-based agents. Let's continue here. So now that we have a folder created and everything, let me launch Claude Code again in here. And I'm going to say, yes, I trust this folder. Up until now, we have Claude Code installed. We've created a folder where we want the work and everything to be. We've also enabled our agent teams flag, right? So now let's get into the real stuff. So the real stuff is like we wanting to spawn up our real agent team. Now, mind you, I said inside our agent team, we have the planner agent, we have the worker agent, and we have the critique agent, right? The worker agent is basically responsible for breaking tasks into clear steps. Let me just paste it in here so that you see what I mean. So the planner agent is responsible for like breaking the task into clear steps. The worker agent executes the steps and the critique agent reviews and improves the results, right? Now, these are the rules, right? I gave rules in the instructions. I'm like, the planner outputs a numbered plan only, so they don't go into details. A worker produces a first draft, and a critique lists improvements, then produces a final version. So I've given each of my agents tasks to perform. Now, the task in question here is, I'm just saying that create a 10 video YouTube content plan for an AI automation channel focused on end-to-end AI agents and no-code workflows, right? So as you can see, it's creating the team of agents with specialized tasks. Now it's asking me for something. It's like Claude wants to search the web for any 10 agent YouTube channel content strategy in 2026 trending topic. So I'm just going to say yes. I'm going to allow it to proceed. So I'm going to click on enter here and let's see what happens. Now you can see that it's giving me a structure and it's giving me a table here of what everybody is supposed to do. And it's giving me the pipeline, right? So it's telling me that the planner is working now, and once it finishes, it will pass the plan to the worker who will draft the content plan, and then the critique. So think of the critique as the supervisor, guys. I've always said that, or I've always thought about the fact that in this whole AI revolution, I've always said that entry-level roles are at risk, right? But this is basically you having the ability to create an agent team and even assign the supervisory role to another agent. This is crazy. This is mad. What's happening to humans? Are we all going to be obsolete at some point, Like, AI sort of fascinates me all the time. As I try out all these tools, it's always fascinating. But then it's also scary. Low key is also scary because, like, if you're going to assign everything to agents, then what happens to humans at the end of the day? Well, what's going to be our value, right? But I mean, it's the time we are in right now. So the thing is to upskill. You just have to keep upskilling, right? Yeah. So I'm going to leave this in the background to run for a while. I also want to touch on the fact that if you're looking to build real leverage with AI this year, then you'd want to, one, subscribe to my YouTube channel. But most importantly, this February, I am hosting a 3-day end-to-end automation lab. So if you're looking to get your hands dirty in the world of AI automation inside end-to-end, then I'm going to leave the link in the comment section below or in the description so that you can sign up. But basically, the whole idea is that 2 hours every day, we're going to be going deep into end-to-end. And the only thing I need you to come to the session with is to come with a project in mind. So whatever project you have in mind, we are hoping that by the end of 3 days, you at least have your version 1 ready to ship. Okay, so that's the entire goal of the end-to-end automation lab. So if you're interested in joining the end-to-end automation lab, I would encourage you to sign up. I'm going to leave the link in the comment section below so that you can sign up as well. As part of being part of the end-to-end automation lab, you also get access to my 3 to 4 hour end-to-end course for free so that you can sort of also take on that course on demand. You can also join my school community. So I do have free version. I do have paid version as well. So whichever one suits your learning style, you can basically join my paid school community as well. Let's take a break and we'll come back and see how well our agents are working now. I know that the planner is done with its first work. So right now, I believe that the planner is idle because its job is done. It's basically waiting on the worker to execute. Okay, do you want to create? Yes. I'm just going to say yes. The worker is just starting to work. So that's really interesting, guys. The worker is actually done with its work at this point. As you can see, it's just waiting on the critique to finish the review and then produce the final version, right? So the critique has started its work. So it's sort of reviewing it and everything. And now it's asking me, do you want to create the YouTube content plan.md file? I'm just going to say yes. And then let's see what happens next, right? It'll be interesting to see all the additions and all the improvements the critique added to the MD file. And it's sort of saying that both the planner and the worker are done and idle. The critique is working on the final step. So let's see what we get. Okay, so you can see that it's done a lot of reviews and everything has happened in the background. It's showing you exactly what was added, what was removed by the critique and everything. That's amazing, guys. That's interesting and really cool. Now, if I should say open the YouTube content plan.md, let's see how it looks now, okay? This is amazing. This is excellent. I don't know. I'm short of words, guys. If you can help me fill out the words for this, I'll really appreciate it. But this is the high-level schedule. If I should open this on my computer, let me show you the draft and then the main file, right? So this is the draft. It's going to open this in anti-gravity. So this is the draft here, right? This is what the worker did, the first draft of the work. And you can see that it's really gone into detail. It's giving me video ideas. So these are some of the videos it's recommending I have on my channel. Talked about the key talking points, call to action, monetization angle, the things I can do to monetize on that video. Talked about my thumbnail concepts. This is amazing. Now let's see the final MD file. And this is really the file the critique created. This is a more advanced and a more enhanced version of the worker's deliverable, right? So if I should open this a bit further, you can see that it's more advanced. There's a lot of improvements here and everything. So this is super cool. This is amazing, guys. I don't know. I can't stop talking about it. But what's my genuine thoughts are? I think that genuinely I see a lot of value here for small teams, large teams. There's a lot of value here. And you can see that you can even go ahead and prompt and be like, can you create a script outline for the first video that has been recommended, which is really what is NA10, the freeze up your alternative you need. You can continue going on to prompt this and all that. So I think I definitely see a lot of value here. All of the other tools tools I've tried, which I'm still thinking what's the real value here. But I think there's a lot of value in here, to be honest. The first thing. The second thing is like I've tried this a number of times, but I think it's quite expensive in a sense that you can burn through your credits really fast. But I think there's a lot of value here as well. So you just need to weigh the pros and cons. At the rate at which these tools are developing so quickly, I think that it's becoming harder and harder to just pick one tool and just be loyal to it, because there's always an improvement coming on in another tool. So I'm just curious to see how this entire space evolves this year. I mean, we are just in February and there's already been Claude bots, Multibook, agent team. So I'm just curious to know what else is going to happen in the next year or in the rest of the year, right? But yeah, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, then also subscribe to my channel. I'm going to leave some videos on here. I basically try out AI tools. I teach AI automation, vibe coding, anything you can think about in the AI space, you find it on this channel. So if you haven't watched any of my videos, I'm going to leave them on the screen as well so that you can go watch them. But yeah, as usual, thank you for watching and see you in the next one.